Welcome to lesson number 4 from A Fresh Approach for the Beginning Percussion class. In this video, we're going to add a new exercise to our daily warm-up, the F 5-note scale. I'm going to teach you a new music theory concept called whole steps. We learned half steps in our chromatic scale. Now we're going to learn whole steps, and we're going to learn how we put whole steps and half steps together to make up at least the first part of our major scales. And then we're going to do a new keyboard technique exercise that we're going to play along with the key exercises with the snare drum. So let's start off with our daily warm-up. Now, in our daily warm-up, what we're doing in this lesson is we're increasing the speed, as we always do. We're playing 8-4-2-1, but now we're at 80 beats a minute. So now it's double the speed, or our metronome is half the speed is what it was. We had gotten up to 180 beats per minute, but those were quarter notes. Now we're thinking eighth notes. So when I'm at 80, now my 8-4-2-1 is eighth notes. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. So let's play 8-4-2-1 at 80. And 1, 2 with perfect piston strokes. 1 and 2 and ready, go. So perfect piston strokes all the way through. I want to make sure that I'm hitting in the center of the bar. If you can look away as you're playing it, the more you can look away, even if you slightly hit a wrong note every once in a while, that's okay. Not talking about hitting wrong notes on every stroke, but use your ears to guide your hands back to the right position. Listen to the sound so that you know you're hitting in the right place. The more you can look away from the keyboard, the better you're going to get at the kinesthetic feel for what the keys, where the keys are, even though you're not looking directly at them. Our exercise number 2 is our C major 5-note scale. So shouldn't have to give you any tips on this other than at this slow tempo, we are really thinking of down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up on every stroke. 1, 2, set and go. All right, again, we don't have to think about our hands being one above another as we're moving up and down that scale. All right. Our piston stroke at this slow tempo will always get one hand out of the way of the other as I'm playing it. All right, our third exercise is our chromatic scale. First, we're going to play it on our right hand. Now we're still at 80. The snare drums are playing eighth notes, but we're playing quarter notes on keyboard. Now, if you're really good at this very slow tempo, you might be able to say the note names as you go up. Use the sharp note names, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. Remember E to F, you just use the natural note names, and then keep going. Once we get to the top and we keep coming and we start going back down, we use the flat note names. C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, C. That might be a little hard, but it's something to work towards, all right? What you really want to do first is make sure that you're making a great stroke on every single key, whether you're playing the natural, right in the center, moving your arm up, playing the accidental, right in the center of the bar. All right, let's try that. Say the note names if you can. 1, 2, ready, go. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, B, B flat, A flat, G, B, F, E flat, D, D flat, C. All right? And if you can do it on your right, you should be able to do it on your left. 1, 2, ready, go. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E flat, D, D flat, C. All right. Harder to say the note names than it is just to play it. So I encourage you to practice on that. It will really help, especially as we get further and further in the book and you have a lot of accidentals. You have to be able to find those accidentals as fast as you find the naturals. Let's try it with alternating strokes. Now I'm going to start on my right hand. You can start on your left hand, but remember, as we're moving up, we change from our left hand hitting the accidentals to our right hand hitting the accidentals. Let's try this without saying the note names, because I'm not sure I can do both. And 1, 2, set and go. And back down. Switch. All right, so perfect piston strokes in exactly the right spot on every single bar. Making sure that we're getting that transition between the E and the F, where one hand is in front moving the, playing the accidentals, and then we switch on the way up and then switch on the way back down. You can start on your left hand as well, okay? Practicing starting on either hand. Once you learn the chromatic scale on C, playing a chromatic scale starting on any note becomes very simple. It is all about that little transition that happens between the E and the F, or the C and the B. C and the B. Okay. Before we move on to our F major 5-note scale, I'm going to teach you a new musical concept called the whole step. Now, we have learned, because we're doing chromatic scales, what a half step is. A half step is a distance from any note to the very next note, either up or down on the keyboard. Up is the sharp note names. Going down is the flat note names. Now, a whole step is, guess what? Equal to 2 half steps. So if I have a C that goes to the very next note, C sharp, that is a half step. But I can also measure my distance between my notes in whole steps. So a whole step is just 2 half steps. So if I'm on C and I want to find up a whole step from C, I just go up 2 half steps. So C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. When you're going from E to a whole step up from E, this is where it gets a little bit confusing for some players, because there is not a half step here. Your half step from E to F. So if I'm going to go up a whole step from E, I have to go up to F sharp. All right, does that make sense? So there is no half step, half step. You have to go half step, half step, half step, half step. So that's a whole step. So C up a whole step, D up a whole step, E up a whole step. Now I'm up here on my F sharp. When I go up a half step, I'm here, and another half step is here. So here is a whole step. All right? Go up another whole step. So here to here. Go up another whole step. So there again, I don't have my accidental on the raise key. It's here. All right? So we can do what is called a whole tone scale. Okay? Not something that you hear every day, but there are whole pieces that are built around whole tone scales. So getting used to being able to find any note, whether it's up a whole step or up a half step, is important. If you look at the top of lesson number 4, we are doing an exercise that reinforces the musical concept of whole steps. So what we learned is that a whole step is up 2 half steps. So if I start on this note here, and I think up a half step, I'm just going to that very next key, and then a whole step is equal to 2 half steps. Then I draw my X. Look at the second note. I'm here, half, half, X on that key. Third one, this is very simple, half, half, X on that key. When I get to number 2 and I have my raised keys, this is simple too, half, half, all right? So I can go a whole step up from a raised key or an accidental to another accidental. If you look at this key here, half, half, pretty simple. This one is a little trickier because up a half is here, and then up another half is here. So whenever you have that, that spot between B and C, or E and F, there is not an accidental in between, so you have to realize that you have to move to the very next key, which could be the E to F or B to C. Line number 3, or exercise number 3, up a whole step. Here, up a whole step. All right, you see how I skip that one and then go to the next half step? Here, up a whole step, boom, boom. Here, up a whole step, tricky again, boom, boom. All right, so pretty simple. It is just a concept that we use to be able to measure the space between notes. Half steps are every key, whole steps equal to half steps. So what we do is use this pattern of whole and half steps to compose our major scales. So before we learn our F major scale, let's go back to the C major scale that we learned to find out the pattern of whole and half steps, because we're going to use this pattern to compose all of our major scales. Right now we're just doing the half of the scale, which is the 5 notes, but it will apply to the full major scale eventually. So if I'm going from C up to D, is that a half step or a whole step? So that is a whole step. Now up to the E, is that a half step or a whole step? That's another whole step. So I have whole, whole, and then E to F is a half step. Whole, whole, half. And then my final note G, F to G, is a whole. So my 5-note scale uses a pattern that we're going to use when we learn our F major scale. Whole step, half step, whole step. So 2 wholes and a half and a whole. C, up a whole, up a whole, up a half, up a whole. Now we can use that pattern. Go to your F. When I'm composing or creating my F major 5-note scale, I use that same whole, whole, half, whole. Whole, whole, half, whole. All right, so F, up a whole. G, up a whole. A, up a half, is going to be B flat, and then up a whole, C. So the F major scale is going to be a whole step, half step, whole step. All right, so that is your F 5-note scale. Now, what we do is we use the alphabet names starting on whatever note that we're starting on. I can compose any 5-note scale based off of that whole, whole, half, whole pattern. All right, so anything that we use our letter names in alphabetical order, F, G, A, B, C. So this is not F, G, A, B, C, it's B flat. F, G, A, B flat, C. So as we're learning to play this in our exercise, we use the B flat, and we're going to move our left hand up to B flat, C. All right, let's try the F 5-note scale just going up, starting on our right hand. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, now you can go back down, keeping your left hand on B flat. 1, 2, ready, go. Now playing the whole 5-note scale exercise that's written out here is pretty simple. I'm just moving up and down, always using that B flat, and then always playing that B flat with my left hand. So let's try it. We're going to go at 80. Bum, bum, for quarter notes first before we speed up. 1, 2, set, and go. All right, so you want to practice that a bunch of times until you get really used to it. Then we're going to speed it up. So play it at that speed with me, and then do the repeat. 1, 2, ready, go. Again. All right, now let's speed it up some more. As we get faster, pretty soon your left hand is going to be very natural at reaching that accidental and playing right in the center of the bar. Here we go, faster. 1 and 2 and ready, go. All right, so as you play your daily warm-up and you get used to using those piston strokes at the faster tempo, it just becomes very natural and you're flowing from stroke to stroke. But the strokes are always coming back up, right? Don't think of playing very low to the keyboard, all right? That will be helpful later when we're actually playing really fast. But for right now, I want you to use big strokes and always thinking up on every one of those strokes. So daily warm-up every single day. We play our 8-4-2-1 exercise. We play our C major 5-note scale, which uses that pattern. We play our chromatic scale with your right hand, your left hand, alternating, trying to say your note names, at least at a slow tempo, and then adding our F major scale. So do that video, play along with that video every single day, both on snare drum and on keyboard. All right, let's look at the bottom of the first page of lesson number 4. We're going to learn a couple of technique exercises that you'll play along with the key exercises in the snare drum part. All we're doing here, if you notice, this very first one, we're going to play along with key exercise A and B in the snare drum part. We're just playing 4 notes per note on the keyboard. So C, D, and then back down. So really this is our 5-note C scale. But we're just playing 4 notes per note on the keyboard. So let's try that slowly. 1 and 2 and ready, go. Again, try to look away from the keyboard. All right, so you can play that along with key exercise letter A and B on the snare drum part. You could also transpose that, and we know our C 5-note scale. We also know our F 5-note scale. So I'm going to play the same exercise, but I'm going to start on F. So this is called transposing, which means that I'm playing whatever music that I have just played with one key, the key of C. Now I'm playing it in the F 5-note scale. So this is pretty easy transposition. All I'm doing is moving up and down. So let's try it on the F 5-note scale. 1 and 2 and ready, go. Up a half step, up a whole step. right, so once you know any exercise in the key of C, if I teach you an exercise either by rote or by reading it off the page, you should be able to transpose it to another key just because you know the same scale pattern starting on another note. So we know C and we know F. So any exercise I teach you, you should be able to play it in either one of those two keys. Now, we're going to keep adding more and more scales. So pretty soon you'll be able to play all 12 scales. So you'll be able to transpose any exercise from any one scale into another scale. All right? Let's look at the next line. So if you notice here, I start on C. So I'm using my C 5-note scale. I start on my left hand. What is the sticking pattern of the first 4 notes? You should know this from the snare drum part, but in case you don't, this sticking pattern is called a paradiddle. So a paradiddle is 2 singles followed by a double. So paradiddle. So if I start on my left hand, the sticking is left, right, left, left. Let's play the first 4 notes together on C. 1, 2, ready, go. Paradiddle. All right, do it again. 2, ready, go. Paradiddle. Now, if you look at the next note after those first 4, then I have a paradiddle, but now my note is D. So I'm going to play a right-handed paradiddle on D. So let's try the D right-handed paradiddle. 1, 2, ready, go. Right, left, right, right. So when I play my first full measure, all 8th notes, paradiddle starting on my left hand on C, paradiddle starting on my right hand on D. So let's try the first measure there. 1, 2, ready, go. Paradiddle, paradiddle. All right, so at this very slow tempo, every stroke is still a piston stroke. Now, if we keep looking ahead into our second measure, we notice our sticking is the same. It's just paradiddles, right? Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. But what happens with my scale? So I started on C and D. In my second measure, C and E. In my third measure, C and F. And my fourth measure, C and G. And then I have a C at the end. So you can quickly learn the pattern of an exercise by just seeing if you can figure out what the sequence is doing. C to D, C to E, C to F, C to G. All I'm doing is using my 5-note scale, but I'm going back and forth and moving up 1 each measure with my right-handed paradiddle. Let's try the whole exercise. Let's do it one time through. See if you can think of C to D, C to E, C to F, C to G. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. Try it with me. 1, paradiddle, paradiddle. 1, 2, set, and go. Okay, so paradiddles are a very useful snare drum rudiment. We use the sticking of a paradiddle often on the keyboard, on timpani, on other percussion instruments. We don't always think of it as a paradiddle when we play keyboard. We just think of that double as helping us move around to different notes on a keyboard and as easy as possible. All right, so you can practice this exercise, do it twice through with the key exercise snare drum on letter C. You can also, because you know the pattern of the exercise, you can play it in the key of F. etc., etc. All right? So transposing an exercise to another key is a useful tool that we use on keyboard a lot of times. So we only know 2 5-note scales. Eventually you'll know all 12 of them, so you'll be able to transpose any exercise to any scale. So getting started on C and then transposing to F is a very fun thing to do. Just kind of keeps you busy so you're not always playing on C to G. All right, so as you're moving through this lesson, make sure that you know with your daily warm-up, we only did it at 80, but you need to increase the speed. Play along with your videos of your daily warm-up. All right, you learned about half steps and whole steps. Whole step meaning 2 half steps. You learned the pattern of a 5-note scale. Starting on any note, go up a whole, go up a whole, go up a half, go up a whole. Whole, whole, half, whole. All right, so if you just repeat that to yourself a few times, then we'll learn that on every 5-note scale that we do. Whole, whole, half, whole. All right, and then your keyboard technique at the bottom of lesson 4 that you'll play along with the snare key exercises. So really work through all of those things. Make sure that you have it down. When you have got that perfect in the daily warm-up and along with the PadLab of the keyboard technique, you're ready to move on to the next video lesson.